Welcome back, everybody. It's your boy, Big Struggle, AG.
Hey, this your boy Chris Hub, known as C Hub, back at it again for another episode of Brotherhood the Unveiling.
Welcome to our safe space, everybody. What's good, brother? How you feeling?
Man, I'm blessed, man. Well, how are you doing, bro?
I'm amazing. I'm good, man. I know we had some fire last week. And it continues to grow, man. It's getting better. So we had our boy JP John Perry. We talked about leadership in youth sports and being a leader in your community and what comes with that. And we talked a lot about just being an athlete from the trenches and the types of things that we got to go through on the mental level.
Hey, you know we both from the trenches, man. We'd have been there, we'd have been through it, man. But hey, we having JP on the show, man. It kind of opened my eyes to a lot, man. To both of you guys, man. Y'all, I shout out to both of you guys dealing with kids that are been through a lot, you know what I'm saying? And they need that father figure, our brother in their life. We got somebody special, man. Who we got?
Man, listen. The woman that made me. You know what I mean? This the real Big Struggle. So
yes,
today, y'all, we have yoga therapist and founder of Yoga for 12-Step Recovery, Nikki Myers, who happens to be my grandmother.
Yeah. Hey, let's go.
Yes. Let's get it. Hello there.
I feel like you my
grandmother.
How you doing?
You?
I'm amazing. I'm pretty good.
I am grateful. I am excited. I am honored to be here.
We are honored to have you. This week started Mental Health Awareness. And so one thing that was very, very important to us, and this is what this podcast is about, is to get the people who know the most about mental health, who do the work, who are in the trenches, who can teach us, and not only us, the people who watch this, about mental health and how on your journey, what you've learned from it. Let's start out. Tell us about Nikki Myers. Now, yes, you are my grandmother, and there's a lot of stuff I don't know. So this is more important even on my journey of being who I am and becoming who I'm becoming. So let us know who Nikki Myers is.
I'm going to start out and introduce myself the way that I do most places where I'm speaking or doing work or any of that. And the running joke has been if I were to speak at Harvard Medical School, right, or in the United Nations or someplace like that, that I do it the same way. Almost 3 years ago now, I really spoke at Harvard Medical School, and I did this the same way. And it's, hi, I'm Nikki, and I'm an addict, I'm an alcoholic, I'm a codependent, I'm the survivor of both childhood and adult sexual trauma. I'm a love addict. I'm a recovering debtor, spender, and that 3-letter word, right? The big 3-letter word is and. Because I am a yoga therapist. I'm a somatic experiencing practitioner, which is this really great trauma healing methodology. I am the founder of Y12SR. I'm an MBA. I'm actually a patent holder. I am the mother of 2 living and 1 deceased child. I'm the grandmother of 5 and the great-grandmother of 3. And I love saying all that in the same sentence. What I've discovered is when I make one part of myself wonderful and praiseworthy and right and all that, and make another part of myself bad, awful, and wrong, what I do is create a split. And in that split, there's this internal war. And when that happens, there can never be a sense of peace. Because all of those are experiences and things that have happened in my life. And until I bring them home and make peace with all of that, otherwise, there's just going to be this internal fight, this internal war that goes on. And I always love to say this because, part of my thing is yoga, that is the antithesis of yoga. Yoga means wholeness. It means integration. It means, this whole thing of wholeness. And until I can accept all parts of myself, there can never be a sense of wholeness. I often get asked, why would you say that? Addict, alcoholic, codependent, all that. And I always tell people you can't heal what you don't acknowledge.
Ooh.
I am interested in healing today. I'm interested in healing, right? So it's been bringing all these parts back.
I'm so happy that you're here to drop knowledge like that because so many people need to hear and to see that you overcame and overcome a lot.
And I'm telling you, here's the real deal, right? That while all of those things are experiences that have happened in my life and all of that, truth is none of that shit defines me. None of it. I'm so much more than MBA or addict or any of those kinds of things. I'm so much more than all of that. All of those things inform my walk in the world, and none of them define me.
Hearing recovery has been something that has been in my life since I was little. I've been in those meetings. I have been literally listening, and I didn't necessarily realize what it did to me until I grew older and realized, okay, some of the stuff that doesn't kind of stick to me is because I can remember being young in these meetings and listening to different people talk about addiction and what they're battling. Right. So, you know, I call her GM. So if I say GM, y'all know what I'm talking about. When did you realize yoga was your purpose?
So part of the story is, for me, relapse. I was clean for 8 years. And in that 8 years, lots of wonderful things happened, right? I went back to school. That was when I finished my MBA. I finished my undergrad degree with straight A's, right? Which is really significant because I was afraid that I burned up a lot of the brain cells and all of that kind of thing. But I finished the undergrad degree with straight A's, right? And then I finished the MBA with 1 B. And I still kind of got a resentment with that bitch that gave me the B. So I'm still kind of feeling that. Right? Anyway, I did all this great stuff. That was when, because my kids had been separated from me. That was when, after that, I got my kids back. You know, a lot of things. I'd gone through, you know, some really bad things with domestic abuse and the whole 9 yards with all of that. So I got all this stuff back. I got the car back. I got the house back. Because part of the addiction and the throes of addiction, I had been in commercial sex work. I had done all of this stuff, right? And those first 8 years were really, really significant in that I got everything back. And then I kind of started thinking I was the shit, right? You know, kind of started thinking I had this thing and everything was good. And after 8 years clean, I relapsed. It's a long story. I won't go into the whole story about it. But I finally made my way back into recovery after that relapse. Man. And that was when I was reintroduced to yoga. Right. I'd been introduced to yoga in the 70s and knew that there was something there, but, you know, kind of got away from it. But after that first relapse, I was reintroduced to it and really fell in love with it, fell in love with it and saw its healing capabilities. And when I started getting into the deep study of it, I started seeing how a lot of the philosophy that I was learning in yoga was really much like the philosophy in the 12-step programs. I started seeing all these similarities and connecting all these dots. And so after 4 years clean, after the relapse, 4 years clean, I'm deep in yoga and decide that, you know, I'm sick and tired of those meetings and hearing the same shit over and over and over again and all of that kind of stuff. I didn't want to hear it anymore. I had this yoga thing and that was what was going to be the deal. Went through that, stopped going to meetings, the whole 9 yards. And then after that 4 years, I relapsed again. So I was clean for 8 years and I relapsed, then clean for 4 years and I relapsed again. And it was after that second relapse that I recognized that, at least for someone like me, that there needed to be a deeper integration of the cognitive work that you do in 12 steps with the body and the somatic work that we do in yoga, right? And it was after that second relapse that Watobasara was born, right? Out of that second relapse. Yeah. You know, and I still always say that, and that's what it is. It's this deep connection of the cognitive and the somatic. I've seen that there are lots of folks like me that need this as an integration. There was something missing when it was just dealing with the head, right? Just dealing with the cognitive pieces. the issues live in our tissues, right? That's the theme of Y12SR work, that this stuff lives in our bodies. So it can't just be a thing where, talk therapy. We also got to get this out of our bodies and work with it at the level of body as well. And that's what Y12SR is all about. It's now been more than 20 years since
Congratulations.
that relapse.
Congratulations.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And we live in such a world that addiction is prevalent everywhere.
Yes, it is.
I think sometimes we kind of downplay what addiction is. You know what I mean? And my addiction is eating sometimes. You know what I mean? Like you can be literally addicted to everything. So I think it's important that we just have these conversations, because there's a lot of stuff that people don't recognize within themselves, and that manifests as you get older, and it grows and it grows and it grows. Chris, remember I was telling you, like, the issues live in the tissues, the story about, just telling everybody I went to stretch therapy. I was stretching. I've always heard issues live in your tissues my whole life. It took me 30 years to realize what it meant. I was at stretch therapy. I was stretching. He stretched out my bad knee that I had injured in college. And there was somebody there who asked me a question about my college experience. And I told them about it, and I left. For some reason, I started feeling those resentments from college. Like, when you're about to cry, like, and then I just broke down crying, like out of nowhere. I had this extreme emotional release. And I can honestly say that situation was small to my brain, but it was important to my body. That's kind of what I realized in that moment. So I immediately called her, and she said, that's exactly what it is. And her advice to me was to write my 20-year-old self, when I got injured, a letter and apologize for not speaking out on my behalf, because a lot of that stuff I kind of just placed in a box and just left it there. It was a dope experience because it made me realize, like, damn, like, this is real. Like, this is really real. This ain't, I've heard it, but you know how, like, you hear a lot of stuff your whole life and you're like, what does that even mean?
That's exactly what happens. And, within your tissues, it was saying, we got to deal with this. Yeah. Right? We got to deal.
How did your struggles impact your relationships? I work too hard, and I find that I feel like that's an addiction. That's the only thing I know. That's what I was taught when I was younger. Work, keep going, grinding, whatever you're going through, it'll be on the back burner, you'll be fine. But I feel like a lot of those struggles carried over into my relationship.
For you to just come out and talk about it like this, right? I recognize and honor the courage and the fortitude and the ability to get vulnerable, right? And have this kind of conversation publicly like you're doing now. That's going to continue to serve you well as you move forward, right? Just the ability to get that stuff out. And you're absolutely right? One of the things we love to do in Y12SR is broaden the definition of addiction. One of the graphics we show is this umbrella of addiction, and everything is in the top of the umbrella. You'll see exercise. Exercise can be an addiction, right? You'll see, as much as I hate to say it, shopping. As much as I love to shop, right? But I can go to Nordstrom's and get a hit of getting that purse or those pair of shoes, right? And come home the next day and have a hangover and look at it and go, oh my God, I shouldn't have bought that. Why did I do that? Right?
Wow.
Right? All of that stuff, right? Food, right? Overwork, right? Yeah. Definitely. Work is a serious addiction. And it's one that is tricky because in our culture, we applaud it. That's capitalism, right? Mm-hmm. Right. Absolutely. It's part of the capitalistic system. Work, right? And in the meantime, causing all this damage in our relationships when there is no balance. This system is made for homeostasis, for balance, right? And when I get shit off balance, either one way, hyperactive or hypo, then the whole system is out of balance.
Absolutely.
Right? And we got to work for ways to bring ourselves back into balance. I got to work to heal all that nonsense, all that, all the static that came along with all that kind of stuff. And it's easy to put the blame on them, right? And that's not to absolve them, but whatever they got to deal with, that's theirs.
That's on them. Absolutely.
That's theirs. That's on them, right? It's me doing the work to heal me, so that I can be in the deep relationships that I want to be in.
I had moments, bro. Like, I just had moments where I just like, man, this can't be real. Like, I wanted to give up football.
Yeah, and a huge piece of like the healing process. Like, I learned healing from her. So, when I went through my last relationship and it completely broke me, literally completely broke me, I made sure that I gave myself time to heal myself so that I could accept the next love, or so I could appreciate the next love, or you know what I mean? And I feel like in this day and age, and I don't know if you guys agree, but people are truly afraid to be alone to do the work. The problem is what I see is that you find people who have trauma, that untreated trauma or unhealed trauma, and then they meet somebody and they try to heal as they're meeting somebody. And when you with somebody, you kind of put your trauma to the side and you take on theirs in a lot of sense. Yeah. So it's like, how can you really heal if you don't take the time to heal? And I think it's so important in just all aspects of our lives, honestly, because we watch people daily have these emotional reactions, and it comes from some form of untreated trauma or some form of just being broken and not being able to heal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. And it all starts with me in relationship with me.
Absolutely.
Me getting whole with me. The other person, who I'm in a relationship doesn't have a shot. Right. Because guess what? How we do anything is how we do everything. Right. And so if I'm beating myself up, I'm going to beat your ass. Right.
Right. Right.
So it has to do with me getting back in right relationship with myself.
Absolutely. We talk about relationships and we talk about addiction and healing. What does support look like? I don't think we truly know how to support each other. And I think the people who are attempting to heal and are hurting, I don't think they have the true expectation of what support looks like. You find people who want you to support them, but they want you to correct what's going on. And that is a huge responsibility that, nobody should try to take on, because you can't do something that requires somebody to do it themselves. Right. So how do you support somebody dealing with addiction? Right. How do you support somebody just in general?
We use this phrase all the time in 12 steps. This is one of those things no one can do for you. Mm-hmm. And there's an and again. And you can't do it alone, right? You cannot do this healing alone. We need to be in connection with each other. And we need to define what that looks like, right? That it doesn't look like fixing, because you can't fix anybody else. Right? Absolutely. It doesn't look like managing someone else's life. It doesn't look like controlling, right? It looks like I'm here to bear witness to your experience, right? I'm not going to tell you what to do or how to do it or any of those kinds of things, but I'm with you. It's not this thing where anybody can do the work for you.
Right. But you. So we all have children. We're all raising children.
No, I'm not raising.
No, you're not raising children no more. No. Right. Right.
My job.
These are things that I ask myself sometimes, and I really need to just call you because you got it, like you know it. So when we go through our struggles and we get stuck in our traumas, how does that manifest in our kids? Because a lot of times you see parents do the best they can do with what they got. But it ends up destroying their children.
Yeah. Trauma is a fact of life, right? I don't know. Right. You're not going to walk through this plane of existence without it. Suffering is real.
Absolutely.
Right? So trauma is a fact of life. What it doesn't have to be is a life sentence. That's one of the words of one of my teachers, Peter Levine, I was telling you guys about.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a life sentence. So we teach kids how to process things, right? How to feel, right? How to go to their bodies and things like that, and to really feel. Those were the kind of tools that I know I didn't have. As long as your kids know you're there for them, that's to hold them through this stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Then you're doing your job, and you'll never do it perfectly. This culture and the world that we're living in right now, particularly as Black children, there's no way in life that you're gonna avoid the racism, that you're gonna avoid dominant culture's effect on our children, right? So it's just being real with them, preparing them for it, and telling them the truth.
Do you feel like it's difficult for Black people to find resources and assistance for mental health?
I think it's becoming easier, right? Mental health, particularly in the age frame that I am, it had this taboo. And when stigma is attached to something in that way, the people who really could use support and help won't be willing to come forward and get the help and support that's available. So I'm seeing that, like with stuff like what you guys are doing here, I'm seeing that there's becoming a shift in that is not as stigmatized as it once was, to just come forward and say, I need help, right? I need some support with this. And I am so grateful for that. So I think it's becoming easier, and there are more resources available out there, and ways to find them, like through the internet and things like that. There's more work to be done in that, right?
Oh, yeah.
There's definitely more work to be done in that.
Another part of it is, when you call and try to make an appointment, to see a therapist, like sometimes it's taking like 4 to 6 weeks to go in and see a therapist. How can we provide these outlets for people to be able to get the assistance that they really, really need? Because if we're having people that's struggling right now and it's taking 4 to 6 weeks to get in, how are they getting help on the other end?
Healing really happens where everyone, all of us are the bozos on the bus. All of us are in there together, and we're talking about our struggles, and we're seeing each other's humanity, right? There's not a one-up. We're all in this together. And for me, that's where I see healing really happens. Those are the groups that I love to be a part of.
What's one of the most hardest stories that you ever heard?
Shit, I think mine's pretty hard.
For sure. For sure.
I've heard everything, Chris. I really, really have. But the beauty of it is, kind of like what you guys were saying earlier, when I see people who are able to find the gift in the struggle, right? They're able to find the gift in the struggle. I talk about my own childhood and my own upbringing. There were some incredibly, incredibly beautiful things, right? And there were also some incredibly, incredibly fucked up things.
Yeah.
And both things are true. The idea has been, how do you build the capacity to hold both, right? How do I build something that can hold both those things, right? The courage and the fear, and, the love and the hate. And, not make one of them bad, awful, and wrong, but have this container where I can hold it all. And that's what I see happen with individuals, right? They go through the stuff and they build a container, a structure within themselves that's big enough to hold the opposites.
Diving into kind of what's going on now, current events. With the images of Black men and women dying at the hands of police every day, how do you balance being an informed Black American while putting your mental health first?
It's hard as fuck.
Right.
Let's be honest.
Right.
It's hard. Yeah. Right? And the first thing that I have to tell myself is that this is hard. Like, this is taking me through some shit. Yeah. Right. And then I gotta do those self-care practices. Right? I gotta be in community with other people. It's just like any of the A's, Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, all that kind of stuff. They're in rooms with people who know that struggle, right?
Right.
So I need to be with and support myself once I'm doing my work, right? My own work, and building capacity and building all those things. I need to be with other people that know this struggle, that I don't have to explain myself.
Right.
I've got to be able to be in community with other people and be able to process this with other people. And fortunately now there's some groups that are starting to do this kind of work.
It is.
Anybody who truly doesn't believe in the benefits of yoga, what do you tell them?
First, as far as it goes with you, when I think about you and yoga, I think about that class, yoga with you. You brought in a whole group of football boys, right? There were a whole lot of other people in the class, and I couldn't stop laughing. They were making all kind of noises back there, these big, strong guys, and I kicked those butts. Right?
No, you did. You did. It was rough.
The way that I usually explain it is that, and this comes straight out of yoga philosophy, right? That we're not one body, that we have 5 bodies, right? And the 5 bodies are, of course, our physical structure is one, but then they get more subtle, right? Then the second one is our energy body, right? And I always tell people, when you go into a doctor and they take your pulse and your heart rate and all of those kinds of things, they're measuring energy. That's the energy system of the body.
Yeah.
And then there's the mind, right? Which is a little more subtle, right? And the real function of the mind is to coordinate sensory input, right? All the things that come in from the outside. Mm-hmm. So all those are outward facing pieces. And then there's 2 more inward facing pieces. Absolutely. One of them is our character, our intuition, right? Our psycho-emotional states. And the other one is our heart, right? And it's not the blood pump. We're talking the spiritual heart, right? The seed of love and joy and intimacy and devotion. And what yoga says is that when those 5 bodies are aligned and balanced and integrated, then we walk more in a state of wholeness. Then we walk. But when they're disintegrated, when they're separated, when they're disconnected, all of those things, then, we walk in the world in this state of disconnection. What a well-done yoga class is really all about is realigning those 5 bodies, right? So, and that's why usually you walk out of a well-done class feeling differently than the way you walked in, right? But then, you go back out in the world and somebody's in your parking space or somebody pisses you off or something, and you get all separated again. That's why you keep coming back, right, to the yoga classes and things like that, to be realigned.
What are some of those things that they can do at home or out in the nature?
All of those things are important. Nature, just getting outside sometimes. Breath work and working with breathing. That is always with you, right? That we take for granted. We can journal. We can sit and write. We can talk to other people, right? To know that I got a full set of tools here and I can choose the right one in that moment. Music can be an asset if it's meaningful to you, right? It can change your whole state of mind, right? So the big deal for me is first being real and recognizing when I'm out of balance, right? Because sometimes I don't want to believe I'm out of balance, right?
Right, for sure.
I'm fine. Everything's okay. I'm fine, right? Right. And when that happens, right? Because remember, again, you can't heal what you don't acknowledge.
Absolutely.
The first thing I got to do is say, I'm fucked up, right? And then once I say that, it opens up the door for possibility for me to get right again.
Absolutely.
But that can't happen unless I come clean.
Unless you come clean. Listen, we get excited because we're literally watching something that we came up with. Chris came up with it and then invited me in, and it's about mental health, and it literally just keeps getting better. Like honestly, and it keeps getting deeper, and we're hitting surfaces that, and it's getting deeper within those layers. We always like to say we burned the shovel out because we got deep. I definitely want to say thank you. And I want people to know, to learn more about Y12SR, they can go to y12sr.com. You dropped 1 million jewels, so I'm gonna just write a book. I give you credit. Don't worry about it. But no, thank you for real.
Look, you the love of my life. So
my life wouldn't be here without you, literally.
Yeah, I love and adore you, AG, and Chris, you automatically in there.
That's right?
it. Automatically in there. I love it. Thank you for the work you're doing. Right?
Absolutely.
This is so important, right? To see, 2 young guys like you being willing to go there, right? What it's going to do is give other people permission to heal.
Absolutely.
And to come clean and to do all that kind of stuff. So, you may not even know it at this point, but you're doing a tremendous and invaluable service. And anything I can do to support you, I'm all in. I'm all in.
Thank you from the bottom of my heart. We appreciate you. We love you. And
this is the Brotherhood. Let's fucking get it.